Ricky hadn't been in New Orleans very long, but he was already working as an accountant. He was in his three-piece suit, so I think Nina had come to pick him up after work. They'd gone shopping for stuff for their new apartment. They're on the bus on the way home. Nina's sitting with a big houseplant on her lap, her pocketbook on the seat next to her. Bus stops, not their stop. Guy's getting off the bus, grabs the purse, runs off. And Ricky's like, fuck that shit, and runs after him. The guy realizes someone's chasing him, is like, fuck that shit, and shot him in the stomach. And even though he was shot not that far from a hospital, the female bus driver, who was black, by the way, knew that that wasn't a hospital to take him to. That's the White Hospital. Great place to go if you're having your prostate removed, or your hip replaced, or your arteries bypassed. This was a gunshot wound. That meant the black hospital on the other side of town. I don't remember exactly where and when I heard the news. I only remember being stunned, like not having a frame of reference for how to react. I knew it was real, but it seemed so unreal, like something from a movie or a TV show shot. I didn't feel frightened or grief or anything, really. My parents took off on the next flight to New Orleans. They told my sister and I we didn't have to go to school, but I didn't know where else to go. So I went to school, and I tell people my brother had been shot, not looking for sympathy, just hoping that the saying out loud of it would maybe help me feel the gravity of it, because I was worried that I didn't. The call came a day or so later with the update. The bullet had just missed a major artery. They always just miss, don't they? It's never like, it was 3 inches off. He really wasn't that close. They always just miss. But a fraction of an inch over, and he would have bled out and died. But the small caliber bullet he was shot with didn't have enough zip to make an exit wound. So it ricocheted off of some ribs and a vertebra and ended up in his calf. And while everybody agreed that was the right decision to take him to that hospital, they made a mistake. They flipped the x-ray, went looking for the bullet in the wrong leg first. He ended up on the table some inordinate amount of time. They changed out like 7 to 10 pints of blood in his body. But he was in serious condition, looked like he was going to be okay. I was enormously relieved. A, I didn't want my brother to die. B, I was terrified that if he did, I wouldn't feel sufficient grief about it, and I'd forever hate myself. My dad came back. My mom stayed behind to help with the recuperation. Nina was grief-stricken and a steadfast nursemaid at his bedside round the clock. Of course, I couldn't stop thinking about Nina in a little nurse's outfit, so that was... But Nina got a little squirrely after a couple of months, cooped up, caring for Ricky, and as soon as he was well enough, she decided she needed a vacation. So she jumped on a plane to California, and when she came back, she announced she'd hooked up with the brother of a former roommate or something. Upshot was, didn't want to marry Ricky anymore. So, devastated, nowhere else to go, he moved in with my parents up in New Jersey to finish recovering from his gunshot wound and now also his broken heart. By this time, I'd arrived at the University of Virginia. And apparently, my dad's assessment that I would never be that top guy was ringing in my ears. Because how else do I explain my decision to major in physics? That's the academic equivalent of going to prison and on the first day, picking out the biggest, meanest, toughest looking guy and breaking a chair over his head. I was trying to prove something to somebody. Surprisingly, I found physics really hard. Yeah. Not a lot of relief in the rest of my schedule either. I had physics, chemistry, calculus, German 5 days a week at 8 a.m. in English composition. Then the next semester, same thing, except I finally got to take an elective, and I took an art class, or as I like to refer to it as Shangri-fucking-La. And that class actually helped me relieve stress and relax from the tension from the rest of my schedule. The other things that I used to relax were binge drinking. Very popular. Anyone else? And tumbling. Not tumbling this time, actual tumbling. Remember, I had been a gymnast in high school. And so I used to throw flips like this. Okay, in the filmed version of this, we cut to me in a hospital bed going, fuck, and like in traction, and then cut back here 6 weeks later. So I would throw flips, and I'm not throwing flips. And one of my roommate's girlfriends came up to me and asked me if I would try out with her for the university cheerleading team. And I was like, well, that sounds completely gay. And please, don't get me wrong. When I say gay, I mean men having sex with other men. But University of Virginia basketball team, very highly ranked, tickets rare as hen's teeth. They gave them out to the student body by lottery. If I was a cheerleader, I'd have a seat at every game. That seat would be on the floor in front of the press bench. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how I became a University of Virginia cheerleader. And a raging homosexual. I'm kidding. I'm not. Everyone say it with me. Raging. No. Jokes are easy once you know how. But then a funny thing happened when I stepped onto the court for the first time in front of 8,000 cheering fans. I felt really comfortable and at home. It was awesome. And I started throwing flips, and they went berserk. And I was encouraged, and I started clowning, taking big pratfalls, fainting at bad referee calls, and dunking off that mini tramp. Jesus Christ, it was great. The rest of the squad got a little frustrated with me. You know, there'd be a timeout, and the band started playing Walls of Jericho or whatever, and they'd want to come out and do one of their, synchronized lifts or form a human pyramid, and I'm off the mini tramp somewhere doing a reverse monster 360, I got called into the assistant athletic director's office. Presumably, I thought, to get shit canned. Listen, 10 years ago, we tried having a mascot. He had the cape, the hat, the boots, everything. He'd sit in the end zone at football games on an old horse and get drunk. The horse had 1 foot in hell and 1 on a banana peel. Didn't matter, the football team was no good. But finally, they made a good play. Crowd cheered, horse reared, guy fell off, broke both legs, and that was it for the mascot. We still have this suit, and we'd like to dust it off and give it to you. What do you think? What I thought was, holy crap, it's 4th grade all over again. Instead of Mr. President, now I'm the Cavalier. Less than a year later, I had an epiphany in physics class. It was actually just before physics class started. I'm sitting there, and behind me, I hear these 2 just Jedi nerds amiably laughing and chatting about some physics thing. They're amiably laughing and chatting about some physics thing. So he says the vector field's proportional to the point source density, and I said, well, I Gauss so. And I'm thinking, these are the motherfuckers who get A's in here. An A in here is not even a pipe dream for me. A B is the pipe dream. A C is what I'm hoping to get, which means a D is the possibility. And I'm staring these beams of hatred and jealousy at them, and that's when I had the epiphany. Those were the exact same beams of jealousy and hatred that were being stared at me in these art classes I was taking. All these econ majors and pre-med students, they thought I belonged in an art majors class. I was in there sandbagging for an easy A. Like Rolf in my German class, that motherfucker was fluent. German 101, fuck you.